Mr. Beast haters and Mr. Beast glazers, I have fantastic news for you. I am about to go over the Mr. Beast response, talk about where he did well and where he did so not well, and for some reason, he got a pass by the internet and it is unacceptable. And I am only using public information because, to be completely frank with you, I was in a long call with Mr. Beast and I pressed him in our call so much harder than Oompaville pressed him in his interview, okay? So, when I told you that Mr. Beast took my advice, when we did our call, he did. My advice was he should do an interview with Oompaville. I told him to do that, and Mr. Beast said, but Oompaville was very good to Dogpack. I said, Oompaville is a very good guy. He wants to be honest. And despite that, he platformed Dogpack. I think he's a good platform for you. So that was the advice I gave Mr. Beast, and he took it. He took my advice, and probably the advice of other people, and he did this interview with Oompaville. And honestly, I think Oompaville is such a good guy, and I have no blame towards Oompaville for not pressing him specifically into specific issues and areas. But to be frank, bro let him skate by a little too easily on a couple of really simple issues. So, I pre-watched this because I don't want this to be a 4-hour video where you don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I am going point by point through everything that is obfuscated or slightly cringe, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. I watched this at like 2 times speed. But let's do this. So it starts off with the question.
Why were you so silent, especially off the bat, like you did?
Why were you so silent? This is a very good question because all these allegations came out against Mr. Beast like 4 months ago, and Mr. Beast was literally silent for a very long time. So again, I'm not releasing personal information that Mr. Beast told me, but he did give me more info on specific areas than Oompaville because I think I pressed him on those issues a lot more. So without using those responses, because I don't leak, as you know, I have a bit of Nuxtegrity. I don't leak. I will, however, be questioning him in specific instances.
Respond to the Ava Tyson stuff immediately, but like, you know, right after that, a bunch of other stuff came out, and Dawson's video, his first video, gained a bunch of traction. What was your reasoning for being so silent immediately?
Yeah, it's a great question to kick it off on. You actually kind of laid out the timeline there. The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it.
All true.
And part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything.
He told me the same thing
online because it might influence, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over. And I believe that was literally like a week before the Dogpack video came out. And then, truthfully, just in transparency, I've never done one of these like big investigations before. And in my head, it was going to last like 2 or 3 weeks. It ended up taking a couple months, apparently combing through all the documents and doing all the interviews.
By the way, all of this, I completely believe him on. That it took longer than he expected and stuff like that.
And everything.
But I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes in just a second.
Just took way longer than I thought because I've never had to bring in a top tier law firm and a former federal prosecutor and let him, do this really big thing. And so that kind of concluded a couple weeks ago when I put out the tweet of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like that was the day I got the conclusion.
So in a nutshell, what Mr. Beast is saying here is the fact that the reason why he didn't respond earlier is simply put because he was told to be quiet while they were doing this internal investigation. Now, I pressed Mr. Beast on this response for a very simple reason. A week after Dogpack's video exposing him, Mr. Beast told Keemstar he will be responding in a week. And Mr. Beast even recorded a video as a response, which he never ended up uploading because more and more allegations kept coming out. But he never ended up releasing the video that was a response to Dogpack's first video because of all the other bullshit allegations that happened, which I do get him why he wouldn't want to release that video. However, if he truly had to keep silent this entire time, why would he tell Keemstar he was planning on responding? Why did he record an actual response video and then decide it wasn't the right way to go about it and release it? I am saying I don't know what the reality is and if he was allowed to respond or not, but regardless, he said he was going to respond and he didn't respond. So I think that definitely makes his silence look a little sussier. Again, this is literally going to be me going through point by point everything that I think falls flat or everything that I think is really, really good. So in my mind, I understand this, except with the added context of him telling Keemstar that, oh, don't worry, I'm going to be responding in a week. And the fact that he actually did record a video that he decided not to post, not because the law firm told him not to post it. He didn't post that video because more allegations came out. And he didn't feel like the video would do a good job at handling everything individually. So that was the first thing that I thought was a little weird. On to the Delaware portion.
Videos with tens of millions of views collectively, claiming I called a guy Delaware because he committed a crime in Delaware. That is not true.
No one criticized him for calling him Delaware. People criticized him for hiring a pedophile. Okay, let's just try to put his rear to the fire here, okay?
His name was just Delaware. I didn't, call him Delaware to make fun of him or anything. And I'm sure you're gonna ask him about it later, yeah. but there's literally, he was in a video before I hired him working at Best Buy wearing a name tag that said Delaware.
This is the craziest point in my opinion, because this is, how on earth does that exonerate you, okay? Bro, I didn't make up the name Delaware. Bro, he hired a pedophile. But I didn't call him Delaware on purpose.
And that was public information.
He is a pedophile that I did hire.
Information. And anyone could have saw that. In
my opinion, that doesn't validate anything. Now, I wanted to bring that up because he also mentions Delaware towards the end of the interview as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to tackle the topic in its entirety.
People allege that you hired a registered sex offender.
This is not an allegation. He did hire a registered sex offender
named Delaware. There's a big whole conspiracy with it. Why did you hire Delaware? And were you aware that he was a sex offender before you hired him? By the way, to preface this question, this is something that I think a lot of people probably feel like is really important.
Yeah, this is the most damning shit. Bro hired a pedophile, all right? But again, I have a couple of notes.
That in mind, this is one of the most important things to me. I would love to hear the full truth response from you in regard to this.
Yeah, and I'm excited to put it out there because I think what people are envisioning is completely different than what actually happened. Yes, I did hire him, but for the context around it, I hired him when I was 19, so I was a teenager, and this is kind of leans a little bit into what we were talking before. This is back when it was just a couple of my friends from high school, my mom. My videos were getting bigger. I needed more help, and so I walked in because I'm dumb. I probably should have gone on some site and hired people who had production experience, but instead I walked into my local Best Buy and I just hired multiple people.
I believe him.
Obviously, when I was a teenager, I didn't know.
Obviously, no one wants to hire a pedophile. So, with him saying that he just didn't do background checks because he's a dumbass, I am inclined to believe him, and he did tell me the same thing. However, there are a couple things that could have been done differently, and something that may not be 100% as open and honest as it might seem.
Background check was, and I just hired a couple people there that wanted to help me make videos. One of them was the person named Delaware, and no, I did not know he was a registered sex offender.
I do believe him, by the way. Even though Jake the Viking on Twitter said that he did know, I am inclined to believe that he didn't. Just simply innocent until proven guilty. Bro walked into Best Buy, hired somebody, and if he would have known he was a pedophile, he would have probably hired somebody else. Just to be completely honest. Let's be real here. I think the main criticism for MrBeast was the fact that he never responded to this claim. Bro made this claim about a month ago, and he was just silent. It's like, dude, deny this shit. And he never denied it for so long, so some people started believing it. But now that he is denying it, I am comfortable to say that is probably legitimate. However, it's handled very poorly, and I think that there is one lie by omission coming. Get ready for the good one.
There's a rumor that's gone around that said that he sat me and my mom down and told us. Obviously, I don't remember that happening. And when I read that tweet, the first thing I did was I called my mom and I was like, hey, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. Just put this in context. 7 or 8 years ago, not indicative of my company today, but I was like, did this happen? Because someone's claiming this happened. My mom said, I would have literally quit or honestly probably shut the business down before I ever let my teenage son hire a registered sex offender knowingly, which
realistically makes a lot of sense. And MrBeast, okay, so he told me that full story, and I agree with him. I believe him. I really do. The fact that he or his mom would be like, yeah, let's hire a pedophile, I think that's insane. I'm just happy he's denying it. For this very long time where he wouldn't deny it, I think it was incredibly suspicious, but now that he is denying it, I do believe that.
I have a very protective mom, so, even if you don't believe me, you should at least believe that. I feel like it's not absurd to believe that my mom wouldn't have knowingly let her teenage son hire a registered sex offender. Like, that just doesn't even, like, in what world does that even make sense? It's like that just, I mean, that's just not even rooted in reality. So, but yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing that happened. Not that this, I take accountability. Yes, if I could go back in time, I would tell.
Taking accountability, in my opinion, here's where it gets to the fun part. In my opinion, taking accountability is that when you fired him because you find out that he's a registered sex offender, you publicly talk about that you are distancing yourself from this guy because he's a registered sex offender. When he was fired secretly and privately. And to a myriad, millions of kids that have watched MrBeast videos and seen this guy in the MrBeast videos, those millions of children look up to this man and idolize this man. And when they see him in public, they won't be like, oh, this is the guy that suspiciously hasn't been in a MrBeast video for a couple of weeks. They will be like, oh, that's the MrBeast guy, and he's a pedophile. I think taking accountability wouldn't be waiting for people to find out about it. I think taking accountability would be like, we just discovered this. It's not appropriate to have him on the staff. We are publicly apologizing for having him here, and we are distancing himself from him. That, in my mind, would be taking accountability. Silently firing him and hoping that nobody notices, in my opinion, is not taking accountability. Now, that's one. Two, and here's another thing that I think is important to note. I personally, and this, again, I don't know, and I would like to hear MrBeast say it out of his own mouth. There was a video with Delaware, with MrBeast. All right? MrBeast, Delaware. I'm telling you, man, this was incredibly sussy. Super freaking sussy. Where they all made believe they were in prison for like a week, and they had Delaware, all right? And this was Delaware over here in the video. I spent 24 hours in an insane asylum, and they had Delaware with the mask on. And they called him Zorro the entire time. They didn't even call him by his first alias, Delaware. They called him by a second alias and covered his face. In my opinion, it is more likely than not that at that point, they already knew he was a registered sex offender. And maybe MrBeast didn't know, but someone on the team fucking knew, okay? Bro, they covered his face, they called him Zorro instead of Delaware, which isn't even his real name, just to add another level of distance to find out that this guy was the pedophile, okay? Someone on the team freaking knew about this shit. So that's why I am inclined to believe that they didn't fire him immediately, and they still had him in at least one more video before firing him, and I think that is incredibly irresponsible and inappropriate. That is why Zorro? Because he was wearing a mask, probably. So that's why I think it's a little bit sussy. And, yeah. That said, I don't think he called him Delaware because it was an inside joke. I don't think he knew beforehand that he was a pedophile, but I don't think it was dealt with appropriately. I do think it was came to light somewhere in between, and I don't think true accountability was taken. This is my thoughts on all of this. If I would hire a pedophile, I would make the world know and apologize immediately, especially if I was putting him in the limelight in front of 300 million children. Again, this was the Delaware response. All right, well, we're going to keep going because it gets funnier.
The big thing on the internet, on Twitter specifically, was that
next step,
you found
investigation bias.
Yourself to be innocent. Of course, you paid a law.
No, I'm not even talking about that. So yes, so this is important to say also.
Firm to find yourself innocent.
I saw those memes. Yeah,
that is the big meme. How would you respond to the allegation that the investigation was biased from the start?
Yeah. So, first off, to just set the foundation, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, of course, Jimmy did an internal investigation, found himself, they didn't find any wrongdoing, which is also not true, which I assume we'll go into that more later. They did find some wrongdoing, just not in regards to like the serious Ava allegation. So that's a, false truth. And then on top of that, it wasn't an internal investigation. It was an external investigation, which was clearly laid out in the things we showed.
Yeah.
This is, I think, very important to note. Like, a lot of people said he investigated himself and found himself innocent of all charges, but he really did hire an external source to do the investigation. I don't think that there are fucking pedophiles and child porn everywhere in the fucking MrBeast company, and I do think it was irresponsible of people to just write it off immediately that he found himself innocent. I think I am guilty of that as well to some extent, that I was like, he found himself innocent of all charges. I mean, I was memeing around, but I do think that it is a legitimate investigation. I don't think they're fucking pedophiles crawling around through the rafters. Did he ever talk to you about his mass cover-up of all videos? Oh, yes, he did. but I don't leak. But that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Because here, he also talks about how Reddit kept deleting responses.
Back or anything, but yeah, obviously, in hindsight, like, I mean, a lot of these things that were just blatantly lies. Like, if I just clap back instantly, people were just like, okay, cool, and moved on.
Would you consider making some details of the investigation that have yet to be seen public?
Yeah, I don't really care about the investigation right now, but where's the thing with the Reddit people deleting messages? Because that was a big discussion point. Here's the soggy cereal one.
Yeah, he has criticized you.
All right, dude, I have to find that fucking line. Wait, where did he say that?
Shouldn't.
Now, this is where I'm ignorant. Like, I don't even know really what a retainer contract is. Yeah, I mean, that would be something I'd have to like go talk to the team on. But,
yeah,
I mean,
that would help.
If that's something where people.
So anyway, at some point in this video, it's again, I guess I didn't put a note down to it, but I will find it at some point. That where he says that Reddit was deleting comments that were pro him. Here, I think someone on Twitter took a thing of it. So people on Reddit were deleting comments that were pro Beast, and I think that's cringe. I don't think deleting comments is good at all. But to say that MrBeast didn't participate in a massive cover-up where he deleted the contents of 83 old videos have been edited, as well as tens of thousands of comments being deleted, when I pressed him on those two things. So first of all, on the comments being deleted thing, I understand deleting comments. You don't want your new fans to see comments from another place. That's one thing. But stealth secret editing 83 old videos to hide Shadman posters and whoever knows what else, that's sussy-wussy. So talking about obfuscating evidence, bro deleted a 5-hour charity live stream for his merch signature live stream. He deleted that. It was around on Facebook, and after he was called out for illegal lotteries, he deleted that. So I agree, Reddit should not be deleting evidence in his that are positive towards Beast. But Beast deleted evidence that are negative towards Beast. Like, the retroactive cover-up shit happened here on the Beast side as well as on Reddit. Both are cringe. So to say that how dare they manipulate public information when MrBeast, and I don't blame him completely, but he also edited public information. I do happen to see the potential hypocrisy there. Anyway, turns out MrBeast's mom was the head of the HR department, which is obviously cringe, and he denounces
Your
it.
mom was previously head of your HR department. And some people have criticized that as a conflict
Cover up for me, but not for thee. To everyone.
of interest. Did you personally, at the time, even consider that? Mm-hmm. And do you now also acknowledge that that is a conflict of interest?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So again, I just like to hear that. This is MrBeast taking accountability. You can't have your own mom as the head of the HR department. Obviously, people are not going to be comfortable with that shit. So,
dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
I do think context matters though, because like this is where a lot of these things that I assume we're going to talk about is like people conflate current MrBeast with 400 employees and spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year with MrBeast when he's a teenager and starting. I mean, when I first started hiring people, it was like, oh, we went to high school together. You want to help me make videos?
I get it. I actually get that. This, I think, makes a lot of sense. See, when I started my YouTube channel, I wasn't making any money off my YouTube channel. If I would hire somebody, I'd hire a friend, I'd hire a family member. And while, yes, that probably is conflict of interest, like, at some point, you have to recognize that not everyone is always in the position they are right now. And I do think that is a very valid response from MrBeast. The no does not mean no policy.
The no doesn't mean no policy that was criticized. That was crazy. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
Well, you're answering for me. Let me answer.
Hold on. It was criticized, especially by Soggy recently, of having been taken out of context. Can you explain what the no doesn't mean no policy was and why it was in the...
Yes. So, yeah. So... It's funny, even the word like policy, it's like, so when we started hiring more people, I wrote this little, I almost like advice book just for a lot of employees because I wasn't able to talk with people as much as I was early on. And one part of it that people, when this thing got leaked, and I wrote it with some other people in my company, it wasn't just me, but when this got leaked, there's a section that said no does not mean no. And then they just like cropped that out. And they're like, look, this is proof Jimmy's immoral and evil. When obviously,
so to be clear, calling it the no does not mean no policy is fucking insane. I think that's important to note. I think that's pretty insane as far as the title goes, but I don't think this is like such a big deal either. Except he describes something a little differently than expected.
Obviously, like you were saying, if you read the context below, it makes sense. The gist of why we had a section that said no does not mean no is because we do, I don't know if anyone's ever seen our videos, crazy things that have never been done before, right?
True.
No one's ever, on YouTube at least, buried themselves alive for 7 days. No one like tries to dangle an obstacle course from cranes. And it's like, the problem I kept running into early on when I was hiring people is I'd be like, hey, I want to do this. And then they would go call someone. So like, let's say the obstacle course in the sky where we had like this obstacle courses that Mac did, held up by these cranes, weighed like 100,000 pounds or whatever. Like they would call crane companies and they'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, okay, hang up. And they'd come to me and they'd go, Jimmy, they said, no, we can't do it. The video's not possible. And it's like, okay, well, of course they're going to say no because everything we do has never been done before. But like, ask them why. And like, obviously, if they don't be rude, but if they say no, just try to understand why, right? And a lot of times you'll have an instance where like, well, we can't get all the cranes at one time because we're renting them out. And it's like, okay, perfect. We respect that. But can I offer something before you actually hard say no? What if we went to the 2 or 3 other clients that day that were renting the cranes, we paid them 5 times the amount of money they paid to rent those cranes to just, rent them a week later. And let's just see. And then the company would usually be like, oh, you would do that? It's like, yeah, like we want to work.
Just for the record, I think this is a fantastic response for the no does not mean no thing in policy. In name, it's obviously awful, and it is like insane that he called it that. And also, and I think this is important to note, his example with the cranes is not the example he actually has in the policy. Because when you look at the policy, he says, when dealing with people outside MrBeast Productions, never take no at face value. All right? If we need a store to buy everything inside it, and you call the local Dollar Tree, and the person then says, no, you can't film here, that literally doesn't mean shit. In my opinion, that's a little weird. Talk to other employees, all right? Circumvent the person you spoke to. See if there are fans, or if they have kids that are fans. Okay, wait, this is different than just getting their perspective. Try talking to their boss's boss. Have me DM them on Twitter and try their social team. All right? This is a lot more than just see what they're thinking. If after all avenues are exhausted, you're left with a no, that doesn't mean you don't try other Dollar Trees, because the manager, those could be huge fans and willing to bend the rules. All right, again, in my opinion, this is very different than what he just described with the cranes. Basically, what I'm trying to convey is what we call pushing through no. Don't stop because one person told you no. Stop when all conceivable options are exhausted. Blah, blah, blah. I get that. On the one hand, I understand the policy. On the other hand, this is a little bit of a retcon as to what he actually said in the no doesn't mean no policy. But this isn't the worst of his crimes, in my opinion. As in regards to the CGI in his videos, also,
there have been claims that you use some CGI in your videos, that is computer-generated imagery. Do you think the use of CGI can undermine the credibility or authenticity of the content that you're making? And if so, why do you choose to use it?
Good question. And yes, I do think rampant use of CGI can undermine it. And I try to do my best to be transparent. Did you ever see So Crispy's video where they showed the behind the scenes of our Squid Game video?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so we've done that. We've done lots of BTS videos on them, and we've done other BTS videos. So I try to show it transparently, but let me think about it. I mean, honestly, the truth is, like, obviously there are channels like Corridor Digital and stuff like that, but can you really think of any, like, entertainment channels like mine that really do this, like even have the budgets to kind of do this kind of stuff? It's something I've always thought a lot about because, like, we're really pushing boundaries and like I want to like keep leveling things up, and I think that's a cool way to do it. But it's not like there's some like playbook on how to like incorporate it, right? Because no one else really does it.
He's right. He's right. He's just straight up fucking right. Using CGI in videos is not criminal. It's when the actual if the actual video and the challenge is actually real. In that case, 100%. That just makes sense to me. That to use CGI to beef it up, to change some colors and whatever. And he's right. He is objectively right. Caleb makes a good point at some point. He says that, putting text on screen is technically CGI. His computer-generated imagery as well. And he's also right. At what point do you have that line in the sand where CGI makes the content of the video fake as opposed to just enhancing the video experience. In my opinion, if the challenge is still real and CGI is just done to amp it up and make it more exciting, I have no complaint here. So again, I think this was very, very appropriately answered. Now, a lot of people have been calling the Philanthropy video fake because he CGI'd a hospital out and it made it look like he built the entire hospital from scratch.
There was an allegation that you used CGI to create the impression that you guys built a hospital, part of a hospital, in order to deceive viewers or, manipulate them into believing that you did more than you actually did.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Honestly, truthful, dumb mistake. At the start of one of our...
I think it's more than a dumb mistake. Truthful, dumb mistake. I agree it was probably a mistake. But bro, you edited the fucking hospital out and made it look like your Philanthropy built the entire hospital from the ground up. This is so much more than a mistake. The moment you found out that this was in your video, you should have publicly apologized because it makes it look like every bit of philanthropy that you do is fake. I'm sorry. This is not taking accountability for making it look like you built an entire hospital when in reality you just renovated it.
Honestly, truthful, dumb mistake.
Damn.
At the start of one of our Beast Philanthropy videos, they were trying to show what this building looked like in the past, and in the past that hospital wasn't there.
Right? Except it was there, as you can see from here.
So they removed it in the editing, which and this is just like a small part of this isn't even like the point of the video was that we built this hospital or whatever. There was just a shot at the beginning.
But that is what it looks like, right? Because people are dumb, okay? Like me, a dumbass on the internet, all right?
What this building looked
So this is what it looks like now.
like in the past.
This is what it looks like now after MrBeast finished it, right? According to him. According to MrBeast, this is what it looks like.
And in the past that
And this is what he claimed to look like before, with nothing behind it. When in reality,
hospital wasn't there.
There was a whole ass building behind it. So I think that a lot of people, maybe you're right, that wasn't the point of the video. However, and I say this with trepidation, a lot of people are just going to see the before-after photos that you put and believe that. All right? I thought you built the whole hospital when I watched that video. Me, a dumbass, thought that. Now, again, you could make the argument, admittedly dumb mistake, and I do think probably it was a mistake. I don't think it was malicious. There's no way MrBeast is willing to ruin his entire credibility by maliciously doing this shit. I think that makes no sense. So, but for fuck's sake, Jimmy, it was more than a dumb mistake. It made it look like all of your charity is fake. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. So the moment something like this happens, and the moment you recognize that something like that happens, the first thing you got to do is say, I apologize for the CGI frame. It was just for visual purposes. We did not build the whole hospital. Because otherwise, it really makes people question what's going on with the entire MrBeast philanthropy situation. Do I think it's a mistake? Yes. Do I think it's malicious? No. But brother, you got to handle these things better. You got to be more transparent with your handling of the dumb mistakes.
So they removed it in the editing, which
ended up making his philanthropy look a lot more gracious than it actually was.
This is just
that's kind of fraudulent. Now, may have been an accident, but damn, bro.
A small part of this isn't even the point.
Hire me for your PR team, Beast. I didn't leak anything. We had a whole ass private conversation. Mr. Breast, I didn't even leak shit. So, listen, I'm your guy. I'm your PR guy. All right, my first rule of my PR guy is don't do an interview with CoffeeZilla, because unlike Oompaville, who let your crypto thing slide, CoffeeZilla would have fucking shredded you. Oh my God. All right, anyway, moving on.
The point of the video was that we built this hospital or whatever. There was just a shot at the beginning, but some people saw that and thought we did build it, which is not the intention, and so it's just a dumb mistake. Trust me, when I saw that, I talked to the editors. I was like, come on.
I'm sure he fucking murdered those editors. Holy shit. Those editors' bodies were never found. That was a joke, okay? I don't want people to take this like the Antichrist allegations and make it sound like I was being serious, okay? All right? That was a joke. That was a joke. But holy shit, those editors, woo-hoo, I don't envy them.
I have 100 editors, and obviously we have a bunch of different channels and things like that. So it's hard for me to speak with all of them, but it was just truthfully a silly mistake.
He's right. It was probably just a silly mistake. But I think that when someone makes a silly mistake that makes it look like all the philanthropy that they do is fake, they need to answer with a little more honesty than Oopsie, silly mistake.
But we never said we built that hospital or anything, but I could see how
But they showed a before-after picture.
some people might perceive that we were trying to like give off that we were. And it's a little unfortunate.
Listen, I am a blue PNG dumbass on the internet, and I saw those before-after pictures. I was like, holy fuck, he built a hospital. Literally. Like, maybe I'm just a moron.
Fortunate because Beast Philanthropy, my YouTube channel.
This, I think, is important to mention.
How do I say this where it's like I'm not trying to, like,
Right. He doesn't want to glaze himself too hard here.
Is literally owned by a 501c3. Like, it's a
Beast Philanthropy is full philanthropy. It is owned by a nonprofit. It's the only YouTube channel I know of on the platform that is owned by a nonprofit. It is an incredibly fucking objectively good thing. Maybe they don't save the world like their titles and thumbnails make it look like. What they recently did a video empowering women in India, which obviously, like, they donated to a girl's, like, school or something. Okay, obviously that's not empowering women in India. So maybe their titles, thumbnails are a little more world-changing than in actuality. However, it is an objectively good thing that objectively gives a lot of money to charity, that is objectively a nonprofit, and I have nothing but respect for Beast Philanthropy. I also want to make that delineation in the sand.
YouTube channel that is a nonprofit, which is crazy. Like, as far as I know, that's the only one. Yeah. And Beast Philanthropy does so much good, and like that. You know what's the only reason people. This is what's funny, because like to the people like trying to call me evil and say we fake philanthropy, the only reason anyone even knows any of this is because we actually did a behind the scenes video on that video. So like clearly I wasn't aware of this because we did BTS and we were the ones who revealed this information. You know what I mean? So like if we were trying to hide things, like we wouldn't have done BTS on that video. That's how people got this information. So it's just like a little mistake, but it's sad because
yeah, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. He keeps downplaying it like a little mistake, but goddamn.
Because now people are using that to point at our Beast Philanthropy channel, which does a lot. I mean, it will just scroll through the videos. I mean, whether we're...
Yeah, I saw you just recently empowered women in India. That was pretty based.
Building schools in Africa.
They used to be like not empowered and now they're empowered. Because of MrBeast, women in India could vote. Did you know that?
Africa, or, I mean, and giving electricity to remote villages, or we're giving clothes to people who don't have it, or we're feeding people. I mean, it does.
I mean, I'm memeing, but it is an objectively a great channel. Like, it is doing good. It is, again, is it changing and saving the world? I don't know. But he absolutely is doing a lot of good with that channel. Charity is not a shield, but it definitely is a positive.
A lot of really good projects. Now, truthfully, that channel is struggling to get brand deals because
that's sad.
All the slander on it, because everyone, you know, has convinced advertisers that the videos are fake and that it doesn't actually do philanthropy.
See, that is sad because it does do philanthropy. I do think he fluffs it up a little bit, but to say that it's fake and a scam is really sad. And it is sad that he's not getting his advertisers there. So whatever, he was talking to me, whatever. I'm not leaking shit, as you know. But we did a lot of talk about financials and stuff. Ultimately, damn, I feel bad that he lost sponsors on his philanthropy channel. That makes me very sad because it was a good channel, even if it is a bit of a fluff piece.
And it's like, it does. And just like one little editing mistake on one of dozens of videos. Like, I mean.
So acknowledge it. Be like, this was an editing mistake. I spoke to the editor that made the mistake. I apologize sincerely for not noticing that error and cut that part out of the video. If he would have done that right when he noticed, we would be living in a different world. See, again, I think this is the MrBeast PR strategy. It's the be silent and hope they don't notice. If they do notice, it was a dumb, silly mistake. And that is such a awful way to handle stuff like this. Especially when you're using people's donations to fund your charities. Or, you know, stuff like that. All right, so moving on to the 100 girls versus 100 boys video. Because I actually pressed MrBeast a lot about this one. And the main criticism, in my opinion, was never actually brought up.
There's evidence that you,
in this interview,
put your previous employees, friends, whatever, controlled opposition in your challenge videos, such as the 100 boys versus 100 girls video.
Yeah.
Did you put them in that video or videos like that specifically to rig the outcome
of the challenge?
Of the challenge? And if so, do you think that's acceptable, MrBeast?
I know. That one was a big one. Videos talking about my 100 boys versus 100 girls video in the last couple months. That one, people really talked about that one. So yes, Sagi's video, he talked about this and uncovered it. I'm surprised more people didn't. Like, my girlfriend after that video literally went on a podcast and described this. So it's not even like this was hidden information. This has been out there.
You were in the video 100 girls versus 100 boys for $500,000.
Yes. On the day, everybody had to go for COVID tests, and a lot of people came, got their COVID tests, and they tested positive. And the girls somehow ended up with way too little contestants. So I got a call randomly from the studio, and they're like, we need a female. I'm like, well, I am a female. I guess I could do this 100-hour challenge.
Were you dating at the time?
Yes.
And did the others know you were dating MrBeast at the time?
They pretended that they didn't, but I think some of them caught on.
Did he like move to the side of the circle and just check up on
he
you?
avoided eye contact at all costs.
But I mean, literally, like she said on the podcast, we had 100 boys, 100 girls. They're competing in a video. Leading up to the video, they're supposed to quarantine. This was years ago when, at the height of COVID. A lot of questions people have about my videos, like that in these recent things I've noticed, usually the answer is like COVID, like why things aren't as like we would normally.
I do think this is a valid response. The fact that he actually had his own employees take the places of some people in the 100 girls versus 100 boys video is simply put because a lot of the contestants got COVID, they had to replace them, and the tournament wasn't directly rigged for the advantage of those contestants. Something that is important to note is that my complaint of this 100 boys versus 100 girls video was never actually addressed. It was that it was rigged in a different way. Okay, look at this.
I decided to make things interesting. We're gonna offer the one guy in there that knows how to solve them $10,000 to leave right now. I love how he's still solving. We got 10 grand right here. You can just walk out the circle.
Do it, I'm out. It's 10 grand. I would leave.
One boy knew how to do Rubik's Cubes, so they paid him $10,000 to leave. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is rigging the competition for the girls. Now, is it ultimately going to make a big difference? I think the boys end up winning this Rubik's Cube challenge anyway. I want to say this. I think it is important to mention that, do I really think this made a difference on the outcome of the whole challenge? Probably not. But when you take the best person on one's team and pay him off to leave, well then, fuck, bro. That seems like you're rigging the competition. Listen, I could be cringe, but in my mind, this is the sussy part of the 100 boys versus 100 girls video. And this was not mentioned. So while this isn't a big rigging of a competition, something like this would absolutely, it would violate the guidelines of the television network's guidelines of rigging competitions. But it's not on television, so it's technically not illegal. But in my mind, this rigs the competition to some extent. So he was never asked this by Oopaville, so he didn't actually talk about it. He did talk to me about it a little bit privately, and I don't leak. So I pressed him on this specifically. He said, whatever, I don't leak. Nothing gets leaked. But this was not addressed in this response, and in my opinion, that was a slight rigging of the competition. So that was the 100 boys versus 100 girls video. Anyway, the new Soggy Cereal made a video covering him, and that's kind of it. But here's the illegal lottery part.
So,
because this part is also a little bit suspicious.
Dawson claimed.
I'm sorry. I went through this video. I went through everything that I thought was legitimate and worth mentioning, and everything that I thought was bullshit and worth criticizing. And we are doing this as efficiently as possible. I am chaotic neutral. I am willing to talk about his big dubs, and I'm willing to talk about the really sussy parts.
Claimed that you ran multiple illegal lotteries, and in Soggy's video, he sort of, I think, disproved 2.
Yes.
And then 1 he still believes was an illegal lottery.
Yes.
Do you believe that you ran an illegal lottery? Did you believe at the time? What was your mindset? Did you check with the FCC? Was there any compliance, any steps taken to prevent this? What is your just perspective on that?
Yes. So I don't think we did. I have people looking into it and like trying to pull the footage.
So he's still denying the first illegal lottery. He's saying that even the first one was not an illegal lottery. But here, get ready for this fucking bullshit.
I don't think we did. I have people looking into it and like trying to pull the footage and
trying to pull the footage. Interesting choice of words.
And figure it out.
They're trying to figure it out.
He disproved the 2, which I mean, those were crazy. I don't want to just like speculate. I have a team looking into it. I don't think we did though. But regardless, just
look how careful he is. I don't think we did. I have a team looking into it. These videos were up on YouTube and Facebook when the allegation started, and MrBeast deleted them. Okay? I think it's important to note that when he's saying that my team pulled the footage and they're looking into it, if they don't have the footage, it's because they deleted the footage after the allegations came out. This was part of the cover-up when the allegation started, all the footage of all of these illegal lottery allegation videos, like with the t-shirts and all that shit, all of that was objectively in existence. They were on his second channel. They were also on Facebook, and he deleted all of them. So if he doesn't have the footage now, like he's saying, it means he deleted it after the allegations came out. So again, that is a very sussy choice of words, saying that I still don't think so. I don't know. We're looking into it. That is a little bit weird. Also, how did this man sit with his leg raised for literally a 2-hour interview? Like, what kind of training did this man have to undergo to keep one leg up, like, calmly and openly? He must have gotten, like, what's it called? Some analyst to teach him how to sit. But anyway, so that I thought was incredibly suspicious. Also, they're only tackling here the legality of the lotteries, not the ethics of promoting gambling to children. That is not touched on here at all. It's technically not illegal, but in my opinion, it's still a little bit weird, and definitely not something I would be comfortable doing. Moving on, there's obviously a lot of harassment, but here's a fun one.
Are you going to sue Dogpack?
Well, you know, there's tons of examples of him intentionally manipulating things to not be true and posting it online. Tons and tons and tons of that. Soggy has basically an hour and 27-minute video, and an hour of it is just flat out proving manipulation and lies, and caused a lot of harm to my businesses. I mean, I've literally had people pull out millions of dollars and then tell me it was directly because of his video. And don't worry, I instantly was like, can you send that in writing? So, you know, if I win a case or anything, I can directly point damages. No reason why. And so, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Like, I don't want to be put in this situation, but probably gonna have to.
Oh, it's just so unfortunate. Oh, I don't like his wording of it, but that's just based, honestly. Like, he has every right to sue him. Like, this is hard. If he can prove that you did it maliciously, this is just a case of hardcore slander, and it affected him very much, and I actually respect that. A lot of people, I think, came at him and didn't like that idea, but I think he should. I think he absolutely should. Slander needs to have a malicious intent. So if he can prove in court that Dogpack had a malicious intent, then honestly, I think you should sue him. I really do believe that. And I know a lot of people don't like that shit, but I think defamation ruins careers and cook this fraud. Honestly, I do think that makes a lot of sense to me. If he could prove malicious intent, which I kind of hear. It. I don't like the phrasing like, oh man, oh, I kind of have to. Oh, dude. All right, just say it, bro. Put your cock on the table and say you're going to sue this bitch. Come on, dude. But anyway, I guess we'll see if he was actually malicious or not. But that was the Dogpack section, and I do get that. Here comes the crypto fund.
There was a comprehensive report published that painted a negative light on crypto dealings allegedly associated with you. To what extent were you involved in these crypto transactions, and how do you respond to CoffeeZilla's video on you detailing these allegations? I thought he gave you a benefit of the doubt in that video.
Yeah.
I think he's a very reasonable guy, to be honest. I think
he's too reasonable. I don't think Jimmy would ever do a sit down with CoffeeZilla, because I think CoffeeZilla would really tear him to shreds.
He's a very smart, reasonable guy who cares about like doing the right thing, which is pretty rare on YouTube. You know, how do you?
True.
Yeah, how do you?
I'm a chaotic fucking meatball. Okay, listen, I don't worry about me. I'm just here to have a good time.
How would you respond?
Frolic in the chaos.
On the Coffee's video.
Yeah, Coffee's video and the report. Well, so I'll start off with the report. I mean, most people probably haven't even read it, but that's what kind of spawned that whole thing. Was this? Did you see it? Like that? Yeah. So the gist of this crypto report that was. 1 second. Sorry, it's not my.
Bro did everything in his power not to be drinking Prime.
The gist of this report was Jimmy is too stupid to like make this kind of money, therefore it must be insider trading. This is his wallet. You know, clearly there was insider trading because he never would have been able to make this kind of money.
That, I think, is the worst way to phrase what the report against him sounded like. Okay? The initial report was he's too stupid, so therefore if he made money, it must have been a scam. There is no way, bro. No fucking way. That's how he's minimizing the crypto shit.
When in reality, which is what I told Coffee in that statement we gave him, it was managed by a fund. So I wasn't the one managing the wallet. I've never had access to that wallet. I've never done the buying and selling on that wallet. There's a actual professional who's written books on crypto and lived and breathes crypto every second of the day managing it. So most of the allegations there are just answered by I am too stupid to do that. That's why a fund was managing it. You know what I mean?
No way.
And
no way.
I mean, like Coffee said, if he literally said this in a video. If you like Jimmy, then you're like, yeah, he has answers for everything and just checks out. And if you don't like Jimmy, then you're going to go, there's obviously wrongdoing here. But yeah, I mean, the honest truth is I make videos. I'm running 7 businesses. I got a lot going on. And I invested in a crypto fund. They invested on my behalf. And I've never had access to that wallet. They're the one doing the buying and selling. I mean, there are thousands of transactions on there. I don't even have that kind of time. I'm sure you could probably even look at it and see days where I was maybe in solitary confinement or doing a video where I didn't even have access to a computer and there's trading. True. So for the conspiracy theorists that think I'm lying and using the fund as a cover up, I mean, there's got to be some way where you could just figure that out. Where I was on a plane ride or something. But yeah, that's the honest transparency is, I was in a crypto fund and people thought I owned the wallet and it's called Wu-Tang Clan. Do you listen to Wu-Tang Clan?
I have, yes.
I don't. Yeah. So I feel like that's another indicator.
Really?
I wouldn't have named it Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
I had to educate myself on what Wu-Tang Clan was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the crypto segment. So Oompaville did call him back the next day for a follow-up on his crypto questions. He literally called him back again after the podcast was over, after this interview was over, to talk about the crypto fund again. But to be clear, what the fuck? Bro, no one is... You could have found times with me in solitary confinement. Dude, no one expects you to be the guy that was managing the crypto thing the whole time. The main allegations against you were the fact that you promoted coins that you were holding and then immediately sold them after you promoted them on Twitter via your tweets and replies to other people. That's the claim. So him going on this whole thing saying that I'm not the one that manages every single one of the account's transactions is obviously horseshit and has nothing to do with the actual allegations. The I am dumb response does not fly. Anyway, Oompaville did call him back for full transparency purposes.
Now, a little bit more on the crypto stuff. I know I talked about CoffeeZilla a little bit yesterday. He's awesome. I think he does really good work on YouTube and he holds people accountable. And it's just impressive. He does actual real investigatory work. He's not the guy who makes videos out of convenience most
me
of other like me and a bunch of other commentary YouTubers. So, I feel like it's my responsibility.
Bro, I'm just noticing Oompaville has him as Jimmy Beast on his phone. That's so fucking awesome. Oh my god. I have him as Jimmy Breast. Oh, not that I have his phone number, but his Discord handle is so random. I had to add a nickname to it so I could actually find it.
Ability to ask some more questions about the crypto stuff because we sort of glossed over it a little bit yesterday. And it's one of those things where it's note heavy, receipt heavy. So, if you don't know something, you just let me know. And if you have to go find information or whatever to back up what you're saying, I don't expect you're like a politician and have all your fucking, we're not debating philosophy or politics. I don't expect you to have everything at your left hand. I understand you're busy. So, if there's information you can provide so we can put it in post, just let me know.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so first one is Wu-Tang. You have said that you do not control the Wu-Tang wallet. You said that last night. You said that a friend did it. You said you didn't know what Wu-Tang was.
A fund did it, yes, not a friend.
Right. Okay, a fund, okay. On a podcast with Logan Paul about...
By the way, I'm just saying this now in case I forget to say it at the end of this whole video. It was never addressed that MrBeast is actively partnering with a known degenerate fucking scumbag scammer piece of shit like Logan Paul. All right? That is never, ever, 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 ever addressed. That question doesn't happen. It's like, bro, if you're this goody two-shoes innocent guy, why are you collabing with the biggest piece of shit on the internet? That was never asked him in this interview. I asked him privately, but wow.
CryptoPunks, you talk about a call you had with Mr. Gary, where you claim to have bought and or sold CryptoPunks, but then later decided to roll the money into VFriends. And this is all like video, obviously. And this trading activity all happened within the Wu-Tang wallet, which we talked about last night.
Yes.
So if it was your decision, you know, if semantically, if what you're talking about on the podcast, if it was your decision, your trading decision to buy and sell the punks or VFriends, even though you didn't press the buttons, was it actually your decision?
Incredible question, Oompy. I'm so happy you followed up on this one, because ultimately it doesn't matter if he's the one that pushes the buttons or not. He still dictates what's bought and sold to some extent. I didn't physically buy a Bitcoin when I invested in Bitcoin. I called my financial guy and I was like, yo, can you buy a Bitcoin for me, please, with my money? Okay? Now, and he did. So that is not, it's not like, well, listen, I didn't have management control over the funds. All right, come on, dude.
Did you press the button? Did you not press the button? Was it your decision? And if it was your decision, and even if you didn't press the button, it still, to me, would mean that you had control of those trading decisions.
Yeah, these are good questions. Actually, I'm glad we're doing this follow-up thing so we can also just put all this stuff out there. So, yes, I did say that in the podcast, and I obviously did not press the buttons, like I've been saying. I didn't pick what punks to buy or anything. Gary Vee, like I said on that podcast, called me and a bunch of other people, said CryptoPunks were the next big thing. I thought it was pretty crazy, but, you know, the first thing I did right after that is just called the guy in charge of the fund who invested my money and it's other people's money as well, and just said, hey, Gary Vee seemed very passionate about these punks. You should look into it. If it makes sense, buy it. And so, you know, he did the research, picked what punks to buy, bought them. I don't even truthfully know how to buy punks. I've never bought one, like me personally.
Okay.
Like I've said, I don't.
Again, irrelevant. He still controls the funds, and he's admitting that right now. That's the point here. But anyway, he gets asked about the pump and dump allegations.
Fucking know. Like I don't know which punks to buy or which ones we should buy if it's a good investment. Like that's why I put the money in a fund and have.
In response to a 21,
here we go.
You, MrBeast, tweeted in response to it was an Elio Trades tweet. There's a gym sitting there on the market at an eye-watering price set to explode during DeFi Summer 2.0. And then you responded by saying super ? With a crazy emoji.
All right, so this is implying that MrBeast definitely does, in fact, like super. And he does think investing in super is a good idea. Right? That's kind of what he says.
Yep.
So why did you not disclose that you had a vested interest in the coin that you were tweeting about?
And not just that. All right.
Super ? Yeah, we'll start there.
In my mind, the big sussy part is the fact that he immediately after tweeting super sold super. That is the pump and dump allegation.
Well, I replied to a tweet, so I did tweet it out, and I think a lot of people, that are just getting second hands of the story think I literally tweeted out, go buy super, go buy super. The fund did hold some super, and I just saw that was the owner of super, the guy who made the coin, and I just went scrolling through Twitter, just replied super to his tweet. I did not tell people to buy super or anything. I just replied super.
He did just reply super, but the tweet did say something big is about to happen, and MrBeast said super ? Implying that MrBeast, the big fucking money guy on YouTube, was looking into super as being a potential investment. Now, I don't know how much influence this tweet actually had. I don't know how many people actually bought super because of this tweet. And plausible deniability, he might not have known what was going on. Again, I think it is downplaying the effect that he actually has on Twitter, but making believe that it had zero effect is also maybe not accurate. I don't know. You need a CoffeeZilla type person to really dig into this.
And I know the next thing where people are going to go, but this was a planned, coordinated thing. It wasn't. It's not like I'm on the phone with the people managing the crypto fund going, hey, I'm about to reply super to this tweet. Like, I just was scrolling Twitter and I replied super. And, I highly doubt anyone bought it.
I highly doubt that no one bought it.
Because they saw me reply super to a tweet. I mean, just to be honest.
I highly doubt that no one bought super because MrBeast, the money guy, said super ? I think that if he said super ? People absolutely bought super. And then he talks about how super is it's one of the biggest crypto coins anyway, whatever. But I don't know. Again, this is It's up to interpretation, whether you think people actually bought Super, whether he tried to manipulate the market, whether he knew that they were selling afterwards. There's no evidence to any of this, so I don't know. But to completely write it off as absolutely irrelevant is also, I think, maybe a little bit naive. Anyway, we moving on. Dogpack says MrBeast is the Antichrist. Obviously, this is stupid and bullshit. I don't think we need to cover it. How are the funds used to do charity? Obviously, his philanthropy stuff is used to do charity. Using charity to do for content, I think this is like such a nothing burger of a claim. It doesn't, like, he's still doing charity. I've covered this a million times. He is doing charity, and that is an objectively good thing, even if he is making content out of the charity. Here's the blindness charity paid 2 years late. I actually did cover this, but I think it is important for him to mention himself.
There was a nonprofit that alleged it was...
Oh, that's a good segue.
Yeah, it was alleged that it was not paid.
Yes.
And you eventually paid them 8 months later. What was the cause of the delay?
Yeah, 100%. And that, you said alleged. I mean, so they weren't paid. Let me zoom out. Basically, we did a video where we helped 1,000 people see again. We, off camera, actually did 800 other surgeries.
So he told me about this in the call also. This, in my opinion, is so fucking awesome of MrBeast. I'm just saying. He had a good thing going. He did an extra 800 surgeries, but 1,000 sounded better in the title of the video. So he didn't mention the fact that he did an extra 800 surgeries. In my opinion, that is so fucking awesome of MrBeast. I'm just saying.
So we did 1,800 surgeries. I just only put 1,000 in the video. And for a lot of them, we worked through with the charity just to make sure things were, because they had a lot of experience with this. And then that charity worked with a lot of doctors on the ground and other little charities. And one of the charities that they worked with did a couple dozen surgeries. I don't know the exact number. I'm going to say around 30. And then the charity we were working with was supposed to release the funds to him afterwards to pay for it. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding. They didn't get it, so we ended up paying for like 970, and like I didn't know of this, but like that little misunderstanding never got taken care of. So then the charity that did the 30 surgeries made a video saying, hey, we didn't get paid. Somehow that never ended up on my radar for 8 months, which is...
I do believe him because that video just never went viral for 8 months. No one talked about it. So I do believe him. I really think it was a miscommunication. And more importantly, do you really think that MrBeast paid for 1,770 surgeries but refused to pay for the last 30 maliciously? Anyone that believes that has their head so far up their ass, I don't know how they see. No shot. This was absolutely an oversight. And I don't think this was his fault. And he paid the guy back later. I genuinely don't think that this is MrBeast's fault at all.
Honestly, crazy. I don't know how no one sent that to me. We obviously had no knowledge of it. And then I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, whoa. I instantly called the team we were working with, and I was like, what's going on here? And then we looked through it all, blah, blah. And then I was just like, I just paid them. So I actually double paid for those surgeries and just paid them separately. Obviously, just a little misunderstanding. 1,000 surgeries. Even if you here's a couple ways you could look at this rationally. If we did 970 surgeries, why would I intentionally not pay the last 30 to save 3%?
He's right.
Just nuke the entire rep of the video just to save 3% of money. A, that just doesn't even seem logical. B, what makes it even less logical is we did 800 more eye surgeries off camera.
He's right.
And
100%. He's right.
I'm over explaining things, but
he's right. He's right.
I have to, because there are literal videos using this as proof that I'm evil.
He's 100% right. I completely agree with what he's saying here in regards to the charities. So I'll give you my broad strokes conclusions at the end of this video. Don't you worry. I'm just going through them one allegation at a time. All right, Team C's.
It took Team C's 3 years to remove the equivalent of 10 hours worth of trash being dumped into the ocean every day. And a lot of people have criticized the campaign as being ineffective, and that you should have been doing something else instead of Team C's.
Yeah.
Like how do you respond to that?
Yeah. So first off, because I get this a ton with Team C's. Like, this isn't even like a new thing. Ever since we did it, people constantly bring this up. So I just also, to the people who allege that criticism, because obviously you're just trying to be the mouthpiece for the internet. I assume you don't believe this, and you can probably already guess what I'm going to say. But to the people who I see this every single day on Twitter and Reddit,
Bro needs to get off Twitter and Reddit. Holy shit. Dude, you are rich enough. You do not need Twitter or Reddit, please.
First off, let's just contextualize what we're talking about. We're saying only 34 million pounds of trash was removed out of the ocean. We're talking like multiple Empire State Buildings worth of just trash if you piled it up is out of the ocean, and we're acting like that's not a crazy thing if you just...
He's right. Now, ultimately, is this going to change the course of the history? Maybe it only saved humanity for like 8 hours. Now humanity's heat death of the universe is going to happen 8 hours later. Big deal. It doesn't matter. It's an objectively good thing that he did, and people knew what they were doing going into it. They knew that every dollar they donate was a pound of trash being taken out of the ocean. Objectively a good thing. Again, maybe it wasn't cleaning the seas and saving the world, but he's 100% right. Onto the 100 wells in Africa allegation.
Is the 100 Wells in Africa project.
Yeah.
In that video, part of the criticism for that video is that a few of the wells that you built were showed in different shots, or the same wells were showed in different shots.
Yeah.
That would imply to some people that you may not have built all 100.
Yeah.
Did you build 100 wells in Africa?
Yes. So you already know what I'm going to say. I mean,
and of course, all the proof is actually provided below. So in his well video, he showed the same well multiple times, and he was like, 1 well, and number 12 well, and number 14 well were the same well. He built 100 wells. So again, irrelevant. So here, MrBeast get asked what charity he does off camera.
How much charity do you do off camera? If you don't mind me asking. Also, some people say that filming these types of things sort of calls the authenticity or the intentions into question. If you're filming charity, like, is it real? If a bear shits in the woods, it's one of those old adages.
Yeah.
What?
No.
What do you do off camera? What do you feel about that? Because that's a big criticism that a lot of people have had on YouTubers for a very long time.
It's a big criticism I get, which is funny because if I do something off camera, how do you know about it? So all the people who tweet all the time or whatever go, you wouldn't do anything unless it's on camera.
That's the thing. Like, I give charity. I obviously do it off camera. I don't market that shit because that's really not my content. I'm just a chaos fuck. I just like sitting here and flinging shit at the people that deserve shit flung at them. That is what I do, and I take pride in my duties.
He only does it because it's on camera. How do you know?
Yeah.
Literally, how do you know? I mean, and does it defeat the purpose if I tell you right now? I mean, I will, just because now everyone assumes the worst. So, but it's just that one's always been a crazy one to me every time I've seen those go viral. But I mean, now it sounds like weird to just list them off because it's like feels like I'm bragging. But I mean, the first one that pops to my head is like the Mark person that we gave $1 million that actually got slandered in a lot of this controversy. I knew that a lot of people who come into that kind of money typically go bankrupt. So I gave him a couple $1,000s a month every month for like 4 or 5 years after that video.
That is super fucking nice of him.
Never mentioned it publicly, just to help his
and I believe it.
Transition to his new lifestyle.
Right.
That was an easy one. I mean, we did 800 surgeries off camera for blind. Never mentioned that. I'm bringing it up now because the controversy is making me. It's funny because like even things like Feastables, we do a lot to ethically source it. And
all right, we're getting to the Feastables. But anyway, he says yes, and he mentions a couple of charities. I think not really. He didn't actually mention the big charities, but that is not relevant. Again, I think that it's none of anybody's business what he does with his private funds. I don't think it's necessarily something people need to speculate about, not a criticism. You'll notice my conclusion at the end of this video. I'm sure you already see where I'm going with this, but here's the Feastables using child slave allegations.
On the Feastables website, it originally said that the chocolate was child labor and slave labor free. A lot of people probably don't know that the production of chocolate is, it's difficult for it to be ethical, especially at scale. And it no longer says that on the Feastables website, and people have interpreted this to mean that your chocolate is no longer ethically sourced, and
very
it implies
sussy.
that it is using child labor or slave labor. Yep. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, that one was a crazy one when I woke up and saw those videos claiming I used slave labor. What's funny is any of those creators, I'm just going to say it, you could have just literally messaged me and I could have given you the facts. But
okay, so now I know this for the future. So MrBeast was ghosting, and at least in my experience, people couldn't just ask MrBeast about these allegations because he wouldn't actually talk about anything publicly. So to say that people didn't reach out, that's a little wild, and I will take this to heart. Anytime there's a future criticism against MrBeast on some big scale like this, I'll just ask the guy. Before talking about it, I will literally just ask him. I did not think that was an option on the table. I don't think anyone did, because MrBeast wasn't addressing anything. So why would he address this? So to say that people didn't ask him, I mean, technically probably true, but ultimately, no one was getting actual answers about anything. Even Ludwig, all right? Ludwig wasn't getting legitimate MrBeast answers. So if Ludwig wasn't getting MrBeast answer, and he is a actual close friend of MrBeast that's been glazing him the entire time, all right? Why does he expect other people to think that they're gonna get answers? So that's a weird phrasing. That said, I have already covered this in the Soggy Cereal video reaction. He absolutely, completely, and utterly debunks the slave labor allegations claims. I don't think chocolate has ever made it super ethically, but he is doing his absolute best. His absolute best to make the chocolate as ethically as possible. Make the chocolate ethical again. He's the Trump of chocolate in all of the best ways.
But, you know, they didn't. And so that was like a crazy few days. Like, I actually, before I go into how we do ethically source our cocoa and these are just flat out lies, I even, when that...
Yeah, and anyway, he spends the next 10 minutes explaining the entire chocolate market. You should definitely give it a watch if you are curious, but ultimately, he is 100% correct here. He shuts down the slave labor allegations. That is easily destroyed. Mold in the Lunchly.
Friend of the show, Rosanna Pansino, happened to get a moldy Lunchly, and a couple other creators got moldy Lunchlys, and then that began the claims sprouted out of that. Yep. That Lunchly had been recalled due to those problems, due to the mold problems.
Yes.
Moldy cheese. How do you plead?
Yes. How do I plead? What am I?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Trial? Well, there was no recall. I mean, that's been said, which, again, it's like, it's so annoying. It's the disinformation, man, because that makes it seem like there's an actual serious problem. Oh, we're recalling Lunchlys, and there's a sign that, you know, I think Logan even did a video.
This is such a nothing burger sign. Like, this is not a genuine criticism. This was a random employee that put it in some store, and Logan Paul doxed the guy. Like, and the guy ended up getting suspended from his job. Like bro, this is not a dub.
If you want to throw up where you, like, went to the store and that.
And also, I hate the fact that it's not being acknowledged that he's working with actual filth like Logan Paul. Like, bro's trying to say, oh yeah, I'm trying to retain my image and stuff. Goes to work with the Suicide Forest crypto guy.
Just wasn't real. That, like, someone put on like a door that said Lunchly has been recalled when the shelves are empty by the FDA, which was just a made up thing. Yeah, on the mold thing, here's the thing. We every single Lunchly with cheese meat is USDA inspected. There is no mold when it leaves our factory. Yeah. Like, we have the highest QC standards imaginable. Like, what do we have? Why would we ship that out? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean?
I believe him.
I mean, and we obviously have the best experts in the world. I mean, even once these things come out, I mean, we brought even more. They're pouring up and down the lines, making sure everything's good. It's just, the thing is, here's a context a lot of people leave out. Look at,
he wants to say Lunchables, but he doesn't want to get sued.
I don't name specific brands but take a specific brand that comes into your mind when you think of something like Lunchly, something that's very similar, specific
Lunchables,
brand, I don't know, other brands, competitors, and Google their name and put the word mold behind it. You'll see thousands upon thousands of examples. And that, I think, is a key context a lot of people leave out in this.
I agree.
Like, this
I think
is
he's
just
right.
the thing with us. Once it leaves your factory, you know, a truck that's delivering it could technically take a sharp turn in a box fall and puncture the seal. Or honestly, even something as dumb as, like, when it's put on the shelves at the store. Like, I can't stop someone from walking to Walmart and grabbing a Lunchly, going to the potato chip aisle, putting it there, and then, like, a day later, an employee going, that doesn't belong there, and put it back. And like, I mean, obviously they shouldn't do that. They should throw it away. Of course. But, like, so there's no mold when it leaves our factories, because that's just stupid. Why would we ever let that happen? But
he's right. I believe him. I do believe him that the mold in Lunchly is obviously a mistake. He's not trying to kill kids. I think that the main Lunchly criticism is the fact that he actually claimed that the Lunchly was a healthier alternative to Lunchables, which is obvious fucking horse shit. Saying that it's healthier than Lunchables is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. They're both ultra processed shit. They're slop food, and that's where I think the main source of criticism comes in. When it comes to the moldy Lunchly, I think the main source of criticism for the moldy Lunchly is the fact that Logan Paul, instead of saying, I'm sorry you found mold in your Lunchly, that's obviously bad, it was a mistake, it was not our factories, instead of saying that, Logan Paul's response was, I like the cheese moldy, bro! Taking zero responsibility for anything. That is objectively the worst possible way to respond. Okay? That's where the criticism comes from. Not the fact that some employee accidentally moved the Lunchlys to the potato chip aisle and then put it back and then there was mold or some shit. I think that's important to say. Oompaville does push back here, and I think he actually does a really good job pushing back. Let me see if that's another segment here. No, it's still here. All right, so he does push back, and I do think he does a good job.
That's super important to me. And there was a video that, like, the actual misinformation stuff that bothers me outside of YouTube drama nonsense, because it's hard to, like, feel like it's, I don't know. It's a strange world being in YouTube just in general. I know you're very well aware of that, but
that's an understatement.
Yeah. But like seeing somebody like Logan Paul with so much influence and like you guys promoting Lunchly and like somebody like Logan Paul acting as if you can find lead, like traceable amounts of lead in a metal detector with like that. That's just, there's misinformation from like both sides, you know?
In my opinion, this was the best pushback that Oompaville actually did in the entire interview. Again, I stand by my suggestion to MrBeast of doing the interview with Oompaville. I told Oompaville I am suggesting you to MrBeast, and I literally tried my best to convince MrBeast to do the interview with Oompaville. And I'm really glad that this happened, because I do think a lot of light is really shed in a lot of specific areas. And I think that this specifically, like when it comes to food and the food industry, since Oompaville has his own candy company, I think he really did a really good job hammering home that Logan Paul was peddling just as misinformation-y shit as anyone else.
You know what I mean? And for someone like me, I find that to be very important. I did make a video about that.
Yeah.
And you know, the same thing you're saying about the mold, you know, giving Lunchly the benefit of the doubt. It's important to do that across the board. I feel like. So, you know, which you didn't make the claim that there's no lead.
I honestly, I know what video you're talking about. This is what I'm too ignorant on what that machine does, so I don't. Yeah, I'd have to.
We've got the same one. It detects metal. Every product, like Feastables, has lead in it. All cacao has lead in it. You know, anything that comes from the earth has lead in it.
And therefore, Logan literally did misinformation promoting Lunchly about talking about how he could detect lead in Feastables or some shit. Objectively true pushback. There's misinformation on both sides.
It's very difficult to get lead out of things, and like the lead that they measure for is parts per billion. Mm-hmm. So like you can't detect it. You're not going to find like a little chunk of lead.
This is where you're in a different league than me.
100%.
I'm so ignorant on this.
It's important though. I mean, it's really important to note that, because it's like it's just so, like you said, use the word ignorant. It is really ignorant to, you know, it's just as ignorant for people to say Lunchly's got mold in it that it is for Logan people to say that Lunchables has, or the other brand has lead in it.
Man is spitting. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can't complain that people are promoting misinformation by saying that Lunchly has mold when your partner is promoting Lunchly by saying that Lunchables has lead. 100% fucking murder curb stomp here by Oompaville. I just wish you would have gone the extra level to fucking ask him why he would actually work with a scumbag like Logan Paul. That didn't happen. We've already covered the Delaware 2 situation, but here comes the Jake Weddle war crime segment, which I think is very important to talk about.
Now on to Jake Weddle.
Yes.
All right. Another guy.
An entire dog pack video.
Yeah, dude. He also has a mustache as well. I'm not sure.
True.
You know. There's an interview with a former employee and contestant named Jake Weddle in which he alleges inhumane treatment on set, even war crimes. Use the turn of phrase.
I want to make this clear. There were never war crime allegations, okay? I have looked... this really bothered me, because as much misinformation that was in the dog pack videos, which is just what happened, right? There was obviously misinformation in the dog pack videos, all right? As much information as there was there were never war crime allegations. Let me see if I can fucking find this bullshit, because this was really annoying to me personally, okay? He even says this in the video.
So, one conversation, the person on the other end of this line is a different former MrBeast employee talking about Delaware.
Right, no, maybe it's not, maybe it's here. He has somewhere in his video.
So I decided to send an email out.
There's one part of the video after Jake Weddle describes the war crimes where he specifically goes on camera to say that these are obviously not war crimes.
Sure, you obviously know that means get it done or you lose your job. So what can happen is like a producer's calling up farmers saying, hey, I need to use your Beast video called Protect the Yacht, Keep It, where get by a lot on their good staying, which, you know, I'm sure this isn't like technically against the Geneva Convention on torture.
There it is. All right.
Have a video and your job is at risk. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure on top of like him being delirious from not sleeping and everything to just manipulate him into staying. Which, you know, I'm sure this isn't like technically against the Geneva Convention on torture because he wasn't technically a prisoner. Like he could have left at any time, but because of the extreme pressure to stay in, it's not really a reasonable expectation that he could have just, you know, walked out.
Because of the implication.
I think.
So there basically is a clip of Dogpack himself saying that obviously this isn't violating the Geneva Convention. Obviously this isn't a genuine war crime allegation. They are using the war crime terminologies to talk about the unethical experience that Jake Weddle had. That is everything that he tried to say. I went back to look at this because I thought I was going crazy that people were actually calling him a war criminal. Obviously, he's not a fucking war criminal. I did end up finding people calling him a war criminal. People made videos calling him a war criminal. I couldn't believe it. But obviously not, and that wasn't even the genuine allegation made. It was a terrible joke that was taken so seriously by so many people. Here, when I, like, here's an example. So here's Muujin, and I like Muujin's videos, saying we have proof that MrBeast severely violated human rights. He did not severely violate human rights. That did not happen. That objectively did not happen. So when you see a video like this, with 600,000 views, talking about we have proof that MrBeast severely, with the United Nations logo on it, and that obviously did not happen. You know, a little yucky sussy kind of situation. But there was never a real allegation of war crimes. That was not a real thing. There was an allegation of an unethical setting in the tournament.
War crimes. How do you respond to these allegations, and do you plan on putting procedures in place to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. Glad I can talk about this one. So I think I should set the floor because maybe not everyone here fully even knows what the challenge was or anything. So
all right.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to. So for the Weddle video, Jake Weddle was the person who competed in one of my videos. The video was we built a room in our studio, and then the challenge was every day you live in this room, you win $10,000. And then it was like kind of like a white padded room. There's like a pool table, a bed in there, bunch of other items, blah blah. And let me just gather my thoughts on this one. How do I want to say? I think the best way to talk about this is to also talk about how we did similar videos with other people, because one of the things is like multiple people can do the same thing and experience it differently. That's what's a little tricky about these like contestant-based videos. I can never know 100% how something's going to affect someone, right? So similar to the Weddle video, I just want to lay the foundation before we go in specifically to that. Similar to that, we also did a video where we put did you see the video where we put two people in a room, Bailey and Susie, 100 days trapped together?
To be clear, this is not the same thing. He put them in a room together. That's two people in solitary confinement, which, by the way, definitionally, is not solitary confinement. Jake Weddle was alone in the room. Okay, just to be clear, these are different things.
So one thing that Weddle struggled with was the lights being on, and he mentioned that in the video. But Bailey and Susie, on day 20 of 100 Day Trap Together, I offered to turn the lights off for part of their prize pool. And they said no. And like,
you're right. Different things affect different people differently. However, the Geneva Convention decided that you could not fucking do sleep deprivation to terrorists. So obviously, enough people think that it's a pretty unethical thing to do, regardless. Especially because there was a fucking psychiatrist that came to evaluate Jake Weddle and say, no, this guy's fucked. The guy went through hell. Obviously, it's not a war crime. Obviously, the war crime allegations are fake. Obviously, he didn't violate human rights or the Geneva Convention. But to say that there was no unethical treatment of this contestant in the challenge is not accurate either. The whole stay up all night and then run a marathon in the morning is also insane. Like, there were a lot of, like, things that I would argue was unethical. Now, I think MrBeast made a mistake. I think he falsely judged exactly how reckless he was in that video. I do believe it was a mistake. I don't think he's genuinely trying to torture people. But the guy did suffer because of this oversight. Now, yes, technically the guy could have left at any time. Absolutely. I'm not saying not. That's why I don't think this is the biggest allegation against MrBeast. But to completely sweep it under the rug because this kind of thing wouldn't have been bad for other people, I think is also not necessarily a wonderful answer.
The lights wasn't, I mean, I'm sure it was difficult, but it wasn't like that big of a difficulty for them. And so it's like something for them that's not that big of a difficulty for other people can be, you know, challenging and hard. And like what I'm trying to say is you never know how someone's going to react to something, right? It's impossible to fully predict. And so that's one of these variables of these challenges, which is why we give people the ability to quit, you know?
That is 100% right. He could have left at any time. That is so real and true. And in my opinion, that is the ultimate Hail Mary as to why this whole allegation is not so bad. But he did torture the guy. Even if it was by accident, even if it was just because of ignorance, even if he was just reckless with his oversight, the guy ended up getting tortured.
You know what I mean? Or to leave at any point. And so in his video, you know, he went 11 days, won $110,000. Right? I believe it was 11 days. Yeah. Yes. And then he decided to quit on that day. And, you know, he mentions this in his video, like around day 11 or 12. I don't know what the day is off the top of my head, but he was struggling. And so we did turn off the lights. We sent a psychiatrist in there to check in on him. And we were like, yeah, he's not doing too well. And we ended the challenge. And we paid.
So obviously he tortured the guy.
Paid him. Didn't go long enough where we got a video. So we didn't end up uploading it. But I think the big thing is just that's why we allow people to leave these challenges. Like my goal when doing these obviously isn't to like, you know, break people mentally or push them past their limits. It's just to like create an environment where they can challenge themselves and do something interesting or cool. And then when they've had it, like leave, you know.
Except this was a little bit too far. But MrBeast did call and apologize to Jake Weddle, and he offered him more money and all that shit. Again, I don't think this is the biggest allegation against MrBeast, but the guy did suffer a lot. All right. Moving on, the Beast Games allegation. This was a big one.
Issue surrounding Beast Games, your show on Amazon, in regard to unsafe workplace.
So again, I do have information about this that I cannot talk about. So if I am more lenient about this specific one than about other cases, it is because I am not allowed to talk about certain things.
Conditions and a bunch of talk of, you know, files and videos and images and everything being sent to the documentaries and all this shit coming out in regard to the Beast Game show on Amazon. Yeah. What is the litigation that found against you?
You know how litigation is. Obviously, I'm not allowed to talk about it, which is a little. There's a lot of things I want to say here, so this is good. Trying to think specifically on the lawsuit that. So for context, if people have. 5 anonymous Beast Game employees, or not employees, 5 anonymous Beast Game contestants submitted a lawsuit, and they sent it to the press, but conveniently all the actual claims are redacted, blacked out, so you can't actually see it. And I'm not allowed to disclose what's behind those black lines, but Beast Games, we had 1,000 people. We were doing big stuff, and just like with my normal videos, like
he also did skip the marathon challenge, by the way, with the Jake Weddle thing. I just think that's important to mention. He didn't talk about that.
I'm not trying to say like everything went great. Like like one thing that happened when we were filming one part of Beast Games is you remember CrowdStrike? That was pretty brutal. We had the most contestants of any game show in history together. That was weirdly. God hates me during the CrowdStrike accident. And so as we're like eliminating hundreds of people and trying to get them home, airports all across America are down, hotel room keys aren't working. And that created a lot of confusion and that caused a lot of problems in our systems. And that was pretty brutal. And I'm not trying to just like disavow everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was one woman who, we had, when we were filming, we had obviously tons of feminine.
I love how he's dancing around specific issues that he can't talk about.
Care products and stuff like that. But there was one woman who was allergic to the feminine care products, and we didn't have allergen-free ones like tampons and pads. And she told someone, I don't know who she told, I haven't been able to find it, but I mean, I believe that she did, that she was allergic, and they didn't obviously do the logical thing, which is.
Now you could argue that he's being very manipulative with his speech. She told someone. I don't know who she told. We couldn't find who she told, but I believe her. Like, you could argue that he's being manipulative, but I personally don't think so. I think he's just skirting around issues because he's not allowed to talk about the contents of the actual case because it's an ongoing lawsuit that's in litigation, right? So I personally, bias, I don't think the Beast Game lawsuit is a big deal. I guess time will tell. We'll see what the lawsuit ends up doing and saying. I personally don't think that the Beast Game lawsuit is anything. after speaking to him, after hearing what he has to say, I don't think so.
Tell us, or just drive to the local Walmart and buy some and give it to her. And so she wasn't able to get, feminine care products in a reasonable amount of time, which is unacceptable. And so I learned a lot of little things like that, but I think in general, a lot of it has just been blown out of proportion. Like, people have claimed like we didn't use unions because I didn't want to pay people fair money, when that was just a flat out lie. We did use unions, and like that there are dozens of broken bones, and which is like crazy to think that I'd be like, oh, 10 people broke their bones, let's keep filming. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't even make sense. I
mean, again, that was definitely the way they painted this man.
Like, that claim came out, like, we literally called 1,950 contestants of the 2,000. We couldn't get a hold of all 2,000. I couldn't find a single broken bone. Yeah, online it's being
I believe him.
Claimed there's dozens. I mean, there's so much or even disinformation like that being.
That also rubs me the wrong way. There was so much disinformation. Like, the way he corrects himself, like, god damn, it makes alarm bells ring. But just trying to look at these cases as objectively as possible, I do believe him in the Beast Games thing. There was also the allegations about some sort of sexual misconduct happening in the Beast Games thing, but again, you can't discuss these things publicly. You don't know what actually happened. Until the lawsuit ends, I am inclined to believe that the Beast Games shit is very over-dramatized and drummed up, because there was a lot of drama hitting MrBeast at that same time.
Spread. So, which makes it hard for me to just come out.
I am inclined to believe that MrBeast was under fire for billions of allegations at the same time from everywhere, and they were like, oh shit, let's sue MrBeast. Hopefully he'll give us a payout. I am inclined to believe that is the case. Again, time will tell.
Talk about things like the pad thing and other things where, we did mess up on little things, and there are definitely things we could have done better. But then there's just it's mixed in with all these crazy, outrageous claims, and it's just so.
What about you not paying people?
I mean, we did. But yeah, that's something people like to leave out. We gave everyone who showed up. You could literally show up and then a second later leave and receive $2,000, which with 2,000 contestants, that's $4 million.
Yeah.
And we told everyone they were going to get $0. This is something this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we told everyone, no guaranteed money if you show up. I'm glad you asked this. No guaranteed money if you show up. You could walk away with $0. But then I wanted to surprise everyone. Gave them each $2,000, $4 million, which it's a lot of money. I could have gone and just bought a mansion instead of doing that. But what's even crazier is then people tried to, not the contestants, but the internet and their theories, tried to frame that as hush money. I gave them all $2,000 to
Time will tell. So yeah, with the Beast Games, he ended up giving people money. There's no evidence of any broken bones, despite those claims being said. The tampon allergic story is actually a true story. He claims that it never got to him and he never knew about it at the time, and I am inclined to believe him. There are other allegations like sexual misconduct that went on during the Beast Games, but time will tell with the lawsuit. I am inclined to believe that MrBeast is not a massively guilty party of the Beast Games situation, due to reasons that I will not say right now. Moving on.
You've been able to really speak in a broad, sweeping way about all the allegations and everything negative that's happened over the last couple months. Yeah. What do you think your biggest mistakes were over the last 4 months?
You already know what I'm about to say. We've hit it a couple of times. I wish right after we dropped the results of that investigation, I could talk a couple weeks ago. I wish I just instantly did this.
I think that's sort of honest. I do think he should have spoken before the investigation was done. He should have said something. Even if he can't directly debunk claims, he said, I will debunk every claim. He should have publicly talked about how he will debunk the claims against him. And the pedophile shit should have instantly been shut down. I think, and he told Keemstar he was going to respond within a week, and he never did. He ended up recording a video that he never ended up posting. These things are contradictory narratives that I don't think are made clear.
Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. The thing is, I've just never been in a controversy like this before, so I just, this isn't even a controversy. This is
I believe.
100
this
controversies.
Is bad, yeah.
So truthfully, I just was also just ignorant on how to handle these kinds of things, and so it's been a good learning experience for me. I definitely realized me just sitting on a couch addressing a camera on serious things, just not my style. I put a lot of time into trying to figure out how to, not just be weird. I like this more conversational, where you can also ask follow-up questions.
I'm glad he likes this idea that I gave him. Very cool. Mr. Beast was thinking about not responding. I was like, Mr. Beast, you need to respond. Do it in do an interview with Oompaville. I pushed him so hard to do this fucking interview with Oompaville. Turns out I'm better than your entire PR team, Mr. Beast. Fire all of them. I will work for you as a full-time PR guy. I'm telling you. You know my price.
And it feels a little more real, you know what I mean? And like, it's just, so in the future, I'll probably, like, if there's stuff like this, I'll probably just do something like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or not.
Woo.
I don't know. If people throw out much more baseless claims, I also don't want to set the precedent where every time I have to come on here. So, you know, give or take. But, yeah, honestly, I just kind of wish I did this sooner.
Yeah, and
for sure. You should have mentioned everything immediately.
I think something that's really important to note as well. People are gonna be like, "Well, he's media trained. He's got a PR team. He's a genius. He's gonna walk circles around you. He's gonna manipulate you. He's the Antichrist. He's the fucking devil horns guy." But like, you know, I'm asking questions that my team and I wrote based on information that's publicly available. And the assumption is after this, you're going to send receipts to back up any additional questions we have in the post process. You know, so that's what's huge. Like, I'm not trying to like debate necessarily.
I mean, there were definitely a couple things you asked me that I'm a little uncomfortable with. Like,
I can tell. Yeah,
and that makes a lot of sense. So I do think this was the best way. On to the Shadman poster, because this is interesting.
We'll talk a little bit about Ava Tyson and specifically the Shadman stuff. I know we talked about the third-party investigation, which found no wrongdoing in like a legal sense from that perspective. A thing that a lot of people care about is Shadman's a fucking freak and is a disgusting person.
True, and I never had any relationship with him whatsoever, despite what my fucking detractors like to make believe.
Did you know about the painting in? Did you know about that? Have you ever interacted with Shadman before? Like, what is your relation to that?
And I think the more important question is, did you know that Chris Tyson was a freak that you were still defending?
That and
which isn't directly asked, but I do think it is important to note that he was in the Discord with Chris Tyson doing freaky shit. He was in the groups with Chris Tyson posting what he thought, what Chris thought was child porn at the time, right? Even though it ended up not being child porn. Like, did you know? That's the big question, and I don't think any answer will actually make anybody happy, because he'll obviously lie and say he didn't know, or he'll be honest and say he didn't know. And it's up to the viewer interpretation on if Mr. Beast actually did know or not. But anyway, that's up for debate.
Specifically that relationship between Shadman and Ava Tyson and you.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good follow-up question. So
I love how every single time Mr. Beast responds to everything, he's like, oh, that's a good question. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Wow, really good follow-up question.
This is, what, it was like, I don't remember 7, 8 years ago. Back then, I used to have like a bunch of anime posters up on the wall. I'm just like set a foundation for context. We used to have a bunch of anime posters and things like that on our wall in the house. And one day, Ava put up this poster that was like an animated character holding a fidget spinner and a gun. Admittedly, it was a weird image. I didn't know who made it. You know, I just kind of assumed it was a meme. I obviously did not know who Shadman was. I've never spoken with Shadman. I did not buy the poster or commission it or anything. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really think too much of it because we just had like a lot of anime posters and things up, and it was an animated character.
All right, so there were a lot of anime posters up, and therefore it wasn't suspicious when this was added to the big collage of anime posters, right? Right? As you could see from all the anime posters, right? This is Chris and Mr. Beast looking at the Shadman poster. So as you could see, the poster was so hidden by the collage of anime posters all around it. No one even noticed it. It was so, you couldn't tell it was weird. This is being censored, obviously, because this is a little girl with, like, no pants or some shit. But because of all the posters, maybe Mr. Beast is talking about posters in other rooms. And because there are posters that exist in the house, he didn't think twice about it. But he definitely makes it sound like his setting the scene is that there is a fucking myriad of posters. You got the Shadman girl literally right next to the Light Yagami from Death Note. And you got Lelouch from Code Geass, and you got fucking, I don't know, fairy tale women everywhere. And somewhere in that big collage, you got a Shadman poster. Like, that is kind of how it seems in this description, right?
That was clothed, obviously. And And yeah, knowing what I know about Chapman now is a very weird thing to buy. I'm not really sure why she bought it.
Because she's a freak. Stop defending her.
Frank. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could give more details. I mean, this was so long ago. Obviously, I don't know the like exact thoughts going through my head, but I just remember, like, I agree, it is a little bit of a weird poster, but I also think I had like Naruto posters up, or I had like Code Geass posters, like
you saw the Naruto posters in the image I just showed you.
Animes I used to watch, and like, I never like reversed image search and Googled, who made this Code Geass anime poster that's sitting on the wall or whatever.
Yeah, that's really not that's not the situation here.
I don't. Your first instincts when you just
see, if I was MrBeast, I would say, I didn't know who drew it. Yes, it's weird. Chris bought it. Chris has an edgy sense of humor. It was fucked up. Instead of saying I didn't notice because it was hidden by the other posters, it's like, MrBeast, I don't believe MrBeast is a bad guy. All right, you know what? I'll let this be my conclusionary wrap up. I already covered all the crypto stuff. I covered this is the Shadman poster. Yeah, so we'll do my wrap up. In regards to all the allegations against MrBeast in the charity situations, I think he pretty much came out on top of every single one of them. The 100 wells in Africa, the Team C's, the fucking paying for blind people, the edited image. I think he should have taken a little more accountability for the edited image of the hospital. But ultimately, when it comes to all of that shit, all of that insane amounts of charity stuff, I really think he's right. He was right. I think his defense when it came to Delaware was laughable. The fact that he still had him in another video with a mask on that they called Zorro instead of Delaware. You're really going to make me think that even if you didn't know he was a pedophile before you hired him, you really are going to make me think that people didn't know that he was a pedophile then. That's one. Two, the LaCoya Hill thing was never mentioned. The fact that LaCoya Hill was allegedly a sex pest in the company, and instead of firing him, he was just moved around. Now, I heard directly from the Beast that there's more information regarding that will come out at some point. I don't know if Oompaville asked it and it just wasn't included in the video, but I am inclined to believe that there is going to be more information about that coming out at some point. So again, I don't know. In regards to the investigation bias of Reddit, like deleting comments, MrBeast, you are literally deleting evidence as well. So saying that only they are obfuscating their side of the story when you aren't is not very fair. You edited 83 of your old videos for whatever reasons. The mom being the head of the HR department is obviously fucked up, and he agrees, but he was a kid, and I'm not blaming him for that personally. The no doesn't mean no policy was obviously worded poorly and described not fully accurately here. Moving on, so in regards to the CGI hospital and all that, in regards to the 100 girls versus 100 boys, I do think that there was evidence of the competition being rigged to some degree. I don't think it was a big difference, but sure. In the illegal lotteries, he claims that he's looking into the footage. He's trying to get the footage. Bro, you have the footage, or you had the footage. If you don't have the footage, just because you deleted the footage. Bro, it was existing before. The allegations came out, the footage still existed, and now it's gone. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. He's gonna sue Dogpack, and honestly, I think that's pretty based. I don't mean to be cringe, but I do think that it's pretty based that he's suing Dogpack. If Dogpack could be proven that he had malicious intent, bro deserves to get stoked over the coals. I don't believe in slander, and that's fucked up. The crypto fund, he really skirted by the main points that of the pump and dump allegations, in my opinion. I am not some big crypto guy, so I'm curious to see how someone like Mudahar or CoffeeZilla break this apart a little bit further. I personally think that it is sussy that he responded saying super ? And then makes believe that, oh yeah, he had no control over his fund anyway. So like, again, that's a little bit sussy. In regards to the Shadman poster, bro, just say that Chris was a freak and you kept giving Chris the benefit of the doubt over all these years because you were friends. But no, MrBeast has to make believe there were just posters all over the place. I am regarded to believe him regarding Beast games. Obviously, he didn't commit war crimes by the Jake Weddle thing. However, Jake Weddle was tortured, and that's pretty fucked up. Oompaville did a good pushback with the mold and Lunchley shit. He completely beat the child slave Feastable allegations. And I think that's kind of where we're left off. I think there's still a big question mark on the crypto thing. I think that his handling of the Delaware situation was abhorrent and easily the biggest slight against him. The fact that he never publicly fired him and talked about how people should stay away from him. The fact that he probably knew, or at least someone on the team knew, that he was a pedophile when he was still in videos. Like, for example, when they literally called the guy Zorro in the video instead of Delaware and put a mask on. You're gonna tell me that they didn't know? Like, come on, bro! Come on, dude! He also didn't tackle certain ethical things, and most importantly, Oompaville never pressed him. And again, that wasn't really the main point of this video, so I'm not fully blaming Oompaville here, but he was never pressed on the fact that for some reason, he went into business with Logan Paul, a fucking scumbag, degenerate, confirmed creep, freak guy that went to the suicide forest and made fun of this dead guy, and that allegedly ran multiple crypto scams. In my opinion, that was never addressed, and that is really, really weird. So where do we come to the conclusion at the end of all this? MrBeast did a really terrible job handling the situation over the last 4 months. I think he definitely, absolutely should have said something earlier. And if he couldn't, then he should have said that he couldn't instead of tell Keemstar that he could. So I do think that was handled very poorly. I think he hoped that the situation would just die down. I do think that in regards to the Delaware crypto stuff, I don't want to repeat myself, but we definitely need more clarity on that. And I think MrBeast was really quick to say that I'm dumb as a lot of the responses, instead of actually take real accountability for some of the mistakes. That said, though, I do think that pretty much all of the allegations are knocked off, except for those two major ones. The crypto and the Delaware one. But every other allegation, I think he pretty much knocked off, especially all the charity shit. People that are criticizing him for charity, in my opinion, you could criticize how he markets his charity as like he's doing bigger things than he actually is. He didn't cure blindness. He didn't change the world. He didn't save the seas. He didn't give independence to women in India. But objectively, he has been doing good things. So thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I am very excited for where this continues. MrBeast, if you want to hire me to be on your PR team, I'm just saying, I'm willing to take that job. It would be my honor. Okay, fire all those fuckers who literally dicked you over. And I am here for you, bro. I am here for you. And I'm also really glad that you took my advice to do the Oompaville interview. I think other people also advised him to do the Oompaville interview, but I know I really fought for it, so I'm glad that he did. Oompaville, I think you did a good job. I think you could have pushed him harder in specific areas, but I think you did a good job. I think this concludes the MrBeast saga, but we'll see where this goes. I'm here for the chaos. Subscribe for more chaos. Sorry that I'm being too open about and upfront about everything. Unfortunately, I will never fully be accepted on the MrBeast hater side or the MrBeast glazer side, because unfortunately, I am just a little bit too chaotic neutral for literally everyone, making waves my own way. Stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.